Let's talk about buying a home in Los Angeles. Hi, my name is Matias, and selling real estate in Los Angeles is what I do every single day. This is a practical guide from years of experience writing hundreds of offers and seeing happy buyers get what they want in one of the most competitive markets in the world. Now, the first thing I always do when meeting a client is that we need to talk about motivation. Why are you moving? Why are you buying a new home? Are you moving to Los Angeles from somewhere else? Are you downsizing, meaning you need less space? Or are you upsizing? Or maybe you're just tired of renting? Or did you get a new job? Or is your family getting bigger? There are so many reasons, but it is very important that we discuss the reason and the motivation, because in a sense, I am like a doctor. So once you tell me everything that I need to know, I am able to pinpoint the accurate path that we can take forward together. The next thing we have to be looking at is who will be living in the home. Is it just you, or is it going to be you and your significant other? Now, what about four-legged family members? So along with motivation, we must also learn about the people. Who is moving and why they're moving. Let me share a story with you. I was working with a client who was dead set on looking for a property in a cul-de-sac. That is like, a dead-end road essentially. And the reason was, after further investigation, was that she really wanted to live in an area where there would be little traffic because she had a cat that was sometimes an outdoor cat. So she was really concerned about living in an area where there would be too much traffic. Now, by knowing that, she presented to me with the problem. She wanted to live in a cul-de-sac. You know how that narrows your search so much. It's very difficult to find you can only look for homes in a cul-de-sac. That's not easy. But once we learned why she wanted to live in a cul-de-sac, now we can also open up to other solutions, like a gated community. So that was another option. She didn't think about it. This is why it's important to be honest. This is why it's important for me to know as much as I can about your needs. Now, let's talk about financing. There are two questions that are similar, but really there are different answers. How much house can you buy, and how much house should you buy? If you can afford a certain amount, it doesn't mean you have to go all the way up to that amount, because obviously you want to sleep at night. So have you ever heard the term house rich, cash poor? What you want to do is take a full picture of the financial situation and see what makes the most sense. Do not skip this step. Is this going to be an all cash purchase, or will you be getting a mortgage? Also, you need to find out, do you need to sell before buying? This is where the advice of a good realtor starts to make a big difference. The first thing I always recommend my clients do is to talk to their bank first, because that is the cheapest option. However, banks have limits. So there are advantages to talking to a mortgage broker, especially for employees that may be 1099 or for the creative types. There are all sorts of scenarios. So it is good to talk to a mortgage broker, but it is more expensive. And I'm going to tell you something that is very important. Do not chase the rate. Focus on the points. Now you may ask yourself, what are points? That is the amount that someone charges you to give you the money. So a bank, generally speaking, will charge you 1 point, which is 1% of the loan, right? Makes sense? So a mortgage broker will charge more, 2, sometimes as much as 3 points, depending by the circumstances. Generally speaking, you should expect to pay about 1.5 points, but that is way more important than the rates. You know why it is more important than the rates? Because the points get factored into the loan. The rates you can always refinance, but once you pay for the points, right? So on $1 million loan, 1 point is $10,000. So if you're getting a loan from your bank and they're charging you 1 point, that's $10,000 plus probably some servicing fees, etc., etc. If you're getting from a mortgage broker, it's 2 points maybe, so now you're paying $20,000. 2.5 points, 25,000, and so forth. Now, in residential real estate, particularly for primary residence, there are limits that are put on by the government to how many points a consumer can be charged. But keep a close eye on those information because they are very useful. And when you talk to a mortgage broker or your bank, you should ask, don't focus on just asking, what's your current rate? Also say, how many points do you charge for this loan? After financing, it is important to determine the timeline. How fast would you like to be in your new place? Now, there's nothing wrong with browsing Zillow and sipping wine, but that is a hobby, and it rarely leads to a new house. Buying a house in Los Angeles is a mission. We need to determine a timeline and adjust our efforts accordingly. Are you in a rush? Do you have 3 days to get this done? Believe it or not, I have dealt with buyers who have only a few days to find a place. Now, that may not be the case. So make it very clear if you need a house within 6 months, within a year, or you're just browsing. Now, some people can take a year to find the right place, while others like to get it done in a few weeks. Your time commitment should be directly related to your necessity level, and we will adjust based on your needs. After we take care of the financing, we have to start focusing on the area we will be looking in. The more precise the work you do in preparation to the search, the smoother the process will be. Now, what area should you live in? What is important to you? Proximity to work, parks, schools. I've sold properties from Malibu to Pasadena and from Simi Valley to Newport Beach. And I can tell you that somebody who wants to live in Malibu will not be searching in Pasadena, but these are the extremes. There are a lot of little neighborhoods in between. So somebody that wants to be near the coast, for instance, maybe looking at places in Marina del Rey, Santa Monica, Venice. And so the same is true for Pasadena. If you work and want to be near Pasadena, there's areas such as Altadena, Eagle Rock, Glendale. And so the neighbors and the cities, the list goes on and on. Something you should keep into consideration, no matter where you live, is what kind of a commute are you willing to put up with? I say put up with because in Los Angeles, some people can stay 10 minutes in the car while others have to stay an hour and a half in the car. Now, some of you may be able to work from home or you're a freelancer, so you can kind of work wherever and just take meetings. But either way, that is a decision you have to make while you're searching for a home. As you can see, there are many nuances when it comes to looking at specific neighborhoods, and there may be specific reasons why you want to be in one specific area of Los Angeles County over another. No matter where you want to live, this county is fascinating. So when you start the search, you're going to get to explore different neighborhoods, different streets, and you will start learning what you like and what makes most sense for you. And now we start talking about the home itself. This is where we start narrowing down the property you would like to consider. Now, are you only interested in a single family residence, or would you consider condominiums? Now, if you consider condominiums, what about the HOA fees? Now, those are the association fees, which are due monthly in most condominiums. Now, you have to realize something very important. This can impact your financing. Why is that? Because when you get approved for a loan, let's say you can pay, I'm going to give you an example of $1,000 a month in a mortgage. Now, in LA, that's pretty difficult, but let's just use that as an example. You can pay $1,000 a month, but what about the HOA fees? Let's say your HOA fees are $300. Now, you can only pay $700 a month toward your loan and $300 toward the HOA. Those are kept into account by the lender when they are qualifying you. Now, we mentioned just single-family residence and condominiums, but there's a few things in between. There are townhouses, which even though are just condominiums on multiple levels, they are a good option in certain areas. Now, there are things such as tenancy in commons or co-ops. All of these are things you have to keep into consideration when you start looking. Another important things we need to know is how many bedrooms do you want? Do you want stairs, no stairs, a yard, no yard? Do you need a pool? I think you get the idea. The list goes on and on. Another important factor to keep in mind is property conditions. Do you want something that is move-in ready, or are you willing to do a little bit of work? But let me tell you something that is very important. The discovery process does not necessarily happen in the office, does not necessarily happen over the phone or over Zoom. Sometimes you gotta hit the pavement, go out there, and as you start looking at things, you will adjust. I give you an example. I just started looking with some clients that while we were talking, it never occurred to them to tell me that they didn't want carpet, right? So once we went out there and we started looking and they saw, carpet, they were like, we want to steer away from that. Now you can change floors, but not always. Sometimes you can't. Like in an apartment buildings, there may be HOA regulations, rules and regulations where you need to have carpets on the floor because of noise. So if you want to stay away from carpet, that's not something you can change if you're buying a condominium where it's restricted. So keep those things in mind. And as I said, once you go out there and you start learning, things will change. You will also adapt. Now that we got all of this out of the way, we are ready to start the search and find the perfect home. But in the grand scheme of things, we still have a lot of work to do before I can hand you the keys to your new home. However, this concludes part 1 of how to buy a home in Los Angeles. Be sure to stay tuned and watch part 2 when we can actually go out there and look at properties. I am Matias Baker Masucci, your trusted Los Angeles realtor. Hit the like and subscribe button, and if I don't hear from you sooner, I will see you in the next video. Bye!